liberty, and justice for all.
Thank you, and let us remain standing and think about our troops serving our country here and overseas. Thank you. You may have a seat. Okay, welcome to the workshop meeting on Tuesday, October 29th. There we go. Hi, Steve. Hi, Paul.
Sorry.
Perfect timing.
Terrible traffic out there.
Okay, so we just sat down and found the meeting. Upcoming meeting, the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees is Wednesday, November 6th. Note the change from Monday to Wednesday. Next workshop meeting is Tuesday, November 26th. The reorg meeting will be December 2nd, along followed by the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees on December 7th. Second, excuse me. Yes. Okay, I just want to skip through the agenda. Mr. Janito, Treasurer, please.
Yeah, Mayor, I know that the board is going to be having, first of all, my apologies, but I have to go somewhere, and so the mayor allowed me to speak first. I know that the board is going to be discussing the acquisition of Avon Real property located at 37 Washington Avenue.
Yes.
And if the board does desire to go forward with that, we would have a resolution prepared to establish a capital project for that. And it's a very simple resolution, simply saying that the appropriations would be for the acquisition of the property and the revenues would be that. The second one is I have the opportunity to attend a training session November 20 and 21 in New Paltz, New York, at no cost to the village. I'm invited to go at no cost.
Okay, perfect.
And the third thing is village claims auditor. We're having a discussion on this. Basically, to give you the quick background on it, many years ago, we're talking about somewhere in the early 80s, late 70s. Prior to that, every single voucher claim from a vendor would go to the board for the board's signature. The board would review the claims and sign them off, and that was creating a lot of issues. This is prior to I started with the village back in '84. Prior to that, and what would happen is a vendor wouldn't get paid for 60 or 90 days because a board member wasn't there to sign a document. And the board apparently either had a discussion and went forward with either a resolution or an agreement that they would allow someone out of the village clerk's office to review the claims and act as a claims auditor, which is allowed, and then they would be processed through the treasurer's office as they normally would for payment. Well, we tried to find the resolution. We couldn't find it. We were trying to go back into the minutes of somewhere in the late 70s, early 80s. And so our recommendation, I know that the attorney Ralph has been working with us on this, our recommendation would actually be to have the deputy village clerk be the claims auditor. And we would still follow a process which our auditors had asked us to do, and which we have been doing, which is even though she does review every claim in order to process it, making sure it has the proper, receiving slips and all that sort of thing, and signatures, the person who works in my office, Maria, then takes those same claims and goes through them to see if there's anything that pops up that she would think should be challenged. And of course, if there was a claim, although I can't imagine what Kathy, who's the deputy village clerk, would have to put in other than a reimbursement if we asked her to buy something. If there were a claim that was something for her payment, we would bring that to somebody else, such as the mayor or the board, to review and sign off. And so that's what that was all about, the discussion. And my recommendation is that we would make the deputy village clerk the claims auditor for the village. It's not an any additional pay or anything. They've been doing it all along. It's just.
Do we need to establish a position with Rockland County, or do we establish it independently here, just within the village, as an additional role?
I don't know that it's a civil service position. It's what has been recommended in the state comptroller's guidelines, right, to have.
I don't think it's a civil service position. I can double check that.
Okay.
And so
That's your recommendation.
That would be a recommendation. We'll have a resolution for the board.
Right, as we discussed it in the mayor's conference up in Saratoga, that was one of the issues that we were addressing while we were there, so,
Okay.
perfect.
So that's my section. If there's something else, Mary, that you want me to cover while I'm still here.
Would you be able to just give an overview of, if the board so chooses to go move forward with the bond resolution, just an overview of that particular process and the needs?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I'll touch on two things. The first one is just really quickly. We had brought this to the board before the refunding bonds, and the board approved that. That's like refinancing bonds. The board has already approved that. I think it was in the August meeting. And it looks like December is going to be the date that we're going to close on that. It also appears that we're even going to get a better rate than what we thought initially on that, so.
Is that due to the Moody's increase,
Yeah,
ratings
yes,
increase?
Yes,
Okay.
the ratings increase. So, as I understand it, the purchase price of the property is approximately $2,850,000, and there's closing costs and studies that would have to be done, environmental analysis, et cetera. So, to give that cushion for all that might be needed to do the closing, we would look to issue a $3 million bond. We would not, if we were just doing this immediately without any other options, we would just go to bonding immediately. But my recommendation is that we go with a bond anticipation note, which, number one, you're going to get a lower rate of interest than you would get on a bond anyway for the first year up to 5 years. After 5 years, up to 5 years. At the 5th year, you either have to pay off the note completely or, go to serial bonds and pay off the note. What this allows us to do is gives us some flexibility in the next couple of years should we decide or something happen that benefits us. For instance, we buy that parcel of property, and I'm just, hypothetically, if a developer were to come by and say, listen, I'll help you develop that property for some municipal purpose and give you a benefit, we wouldn't have to borrow as much in bonds. Or if we had a swap where we took a piece of the property or something and swapped it to another piece of property, if we had it in bonds, anything that we do in terms of the sale would have to go into, I believe, an escrow account. I'd have to check with the bond counsel, but if you had bonds issued, then you have an outstanding debt on a property that you are selling if you're doing that, and that would probably have to go that way. But anyhow, the note gives you that flexibility because you can then pay off that piece of the note when it comes to it. And you can keep a note alive for up to 5 years.
Okay. Does the board have any questions in regards to the bonding, of the potential purchase of the Avon property? No? Okay.
So thank you very much, and thank you for
Thank
allowing me to
you.
go first.
All the best to you.
Yes, good luck.
Yes, thanks.
Okay, back to the top of the agenda. Chief report. Suffern's greatest fire department in Rockland County.
I just have a couple things. We'd like permission for one truck from each company to attend the Orangeburg Christmas Parade on December 14th.
Resolutions for all these discussions.
We need a resolution for the fire truck, for the,
Yeah, these are just discussions,
Okay.
so everything will be. ready.
on Monday.
Yeah.
On Wednesday.
Monday, on Wednesday, excuse me. You're fine with that.
Yeah. And then, just as a point of information, we'll have Santa riding around handing out the candy canes on December 22nd throughout the village.
Okay.
And the next thing I wanted to bring up was a temporary repair to their floor. Their floor has a coating on the top of it. It's not a terrazzo floor, but it's
Right.
got the coating over the concrete. So I guess what's happening is when they drive the truck in, especially the tower truck, the heavier one, it moves a little bit in the back, the very back part of it.
What moves?
The floor, you can see it kind of, I guess, move with the weight of the truck on it. So what they'd like to do is they got a price of $5,518. They got an estimate for it. It's to pump epoxy. So they drill small holes in it and they pump epoxy in it and it fills the void so the coating won't break. It's basically a Band-Aid on the floor. I mean, eventually they'll have to actually fix it and do the drains, but this would be a Band-Aid for a couple of years.
Is Charles aware of it? Charles, are you aware of the epoxy of
I mean, they had brought this up, they had the estimate a year or two ago. It was one of the estimates they did get.
While we've gone through a number of different proposals, it sounds like it might be a little bit different. It sounds like
Yeah,
they pressure inject the.
Yeah, they inject the epoxy in it, and it's just to fill the void so that the floor, the coating on the top doesn't break up.
All right, so let's get that information to Charles, and Charles, you can review it, and then we'll speak, we'll touch base before the meeting.
It was $5,818.
And this is for the one, for the department that has the crack, right? Not the
It has-
grate?
It's the grate.
Oh, it's
It's
the
the
grate.
grate, yeah,
Okay.
it's that coating that's on the floor. They're afraid it's gonna break up with the weight of the truck driving over it. So they just want to put the epoxy on and stabilize it so it
Right.
doesn't break up. They can actually do it out of their equipment line. They want to move the money out of line 4200.0002. And if they move it from there to the other line, they can, they'll pay for it out of their budget.
Huh.
So this way, won't cost any additional money.
Could you work with, send me the quote and then we work on the line items before the meeting, I did talk to Charles.
Yeah, we can do
And
that.
Mike, and
We'll work on the.
Mike Genito.
So you should suggest basically that this 5,818 is already essentially in the.
Well, they're just gonna move it. They were gonna buy, they had it in their budget to buy these rescue struts, which were things to stabilize a car that rolls over. So instead of buying them, they'll use that money and get the floor fixed.
So there's no additional money.
So it wouldn't be any additional money on the village. That's the,
Okay, let's just follow up with the information with Charles, and then.
I'll
with
email
the-
everything over tomorrow.
And Mike Genito, the treasurer, so we,
And
you know,
we'll
clarify
follow
the
all over, so
line
it's
items.
all set for next week.
Perfect.
Do it, okay?
Yeah,
All right.
and then, we're gonna speak about briefly the PowerPoint or the presentation that you're going to be establishing at the firehouse for the board
Yes,
to review the possibility of purchasing a new fire truck, a new pumper.
yes. If you'd like to pick a date where you guys would be available at the end of the month.
So the truck committee put together they are in the midst of putting together a presentation on the purchase of a new pumper truck, where they have everything spec'd out, the dealer rep is there, and I think it would be very informative for the board to hear it. So I think we should have a meeting at the firehouse.
So we have it, the hose company, we'll get the projectors and everything set
Right.
there, so it's.
As we did for the SCBA.
Yep.
And we'll have it publicly noticed, the public will be welcome to attend, and we'll have a total overview of their proposal.
Yeah.
What's the board say?
Sure.
Sounds good. Timing, we said what, end of next month?
At the end of November, I guess,
In the evening.
in the evening, yeah.
Right. Is there a better date for you in the fire department, or?
More towards the end of the month, because I'm away for the next couple of weeks, and then one of the other guys, the captain and stuff, they're away.
So we
Thanksgiving's
go
late, right? Thanksgiving's late this year, 22.
27, 28. So the week of the 18th to the 22nd,
Yeah, you tell me.
are you available?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll make it work, whatever day works for you guys.
The 18th, you drill on Monday, is that a bad night?
We drill on Monday, but we would arrange it so that you guys can be there.
I mean,
We'll move things around, it's not an issue.
what are you guys comfortable with, on what
The
day?
21st would work well for me,
What day is it?
Thursday.
Yeah, that should be okay for me too. I'm out of town, 19th and 20th and 21st, but that probably work.
You guys good with the 21st?
21st.
7 PM?
Okay, 21st?
So we're gonna publicly notice that?
17th.
At 7?
7.
7.
7?
Yeah,
The
7.
host company. so-
Yeah, that was coming.
Full dinner? 6:30 dinner?
Champagne?
Champagne's after it comes in.
We won't have a problem noticing that? Yeah, okay. Okay, that's good, right?
Yeah, that's,
Please let me know if that works and if there's any changes.
okay, I'll check with the guys tomorrow, but I don't believe it.
Okay, great.
Thank you very much.
All right,
Appreciate it.
thank you.
Thank you.
21st is the CBA meeting. I don't know if anyone here can speak to CBA.
No, I don't think so. Thank you.
Well,
And you're up next.
I don't know. Good evening, everybody. So we have a couple of events coming up. I know the agenda looks long, so I won't go through all the events. But one thing I do want to mention, we have not just Battery Saturday, and Bruce Simon, who's in the corner there, is running that great event. So we have that Saturday here at Village Hall. Jim Hunt, CSEA, a whole bunch of groups are going to be part of it. That starts at 11 and it goes to 2 groups. Okay. So again, my items are...
Oh, let me just, while we're on not just Battery Saturday, Joe, you have something to add to it?
The CSEA members have volunteered their time to bring equipment with the board's permission, loader and a couple trucks with pallets, so that way we can shrink wrap it and prepare it for the county, so it makes my life easy.
Right, so we're going to seek for authorization from the board for the volunteers to utilize the village equipment on Saturday and Sunday. Is that correct?
It's one day. It's only one day.
Oh, I thought you said Saturday, Sunday. Okay, so Saturday.
Saturday. I have
Okay,
6
so
volunteers on that.
do I have a motion to that effect to authorize the DPW to utilize village equipment and volunteer their time?
Motion.
Second, so by trustee Girard, trustee Alpert, and all in favor? Aye. Okay, motion.
That's the
Is this Saturday?
That's this Saturday, that's why we're doing it.
So it's 11 to 2, and it's 11 to 2.
Oh, okay, I never even thought about that. Yesterday, right, just quick. 11 to 11 to 2.
You're sharp.
7:15.
So the next thing I have on my agenda is the discussion about the Suffern Middle School. So Suffern Middle School is having a pocketbook bingo in January, and they have requested that we donate a registration for Clifford Theater. We did do this last year for them. It did cause a lot of interest. We actually got the girl that was the lead in Matilda this year. Her mother won it at the bingo last year. So it really does a lot of, excitement for the parents to see it. A lot of parents learned about Clifford Theater through that bingo as well. So I do think it's a nice opportunity for somebody to win it. It's helpful to get our word out. It's a really good PR.
Right, and then they're performing in the show at the same time.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So it'd be a great opportunity if we can improve that. That would be wonderful. And I can get back to
One
you.
ticket?
It's one registration, so usually when the kid signs up, they have to pay a registration fee. It would be a registration fee for a student to enter Clifford Theater. So it's not a ticket to the show, it's for them to
Just
participate.
to participate, so they're going to be participating in the event.
Great, okay.
So do we have a motion to that effect, one registration certificate to Clifford Theater?
Motion.
Trustee Hertzman. Second. Trustee Hagen, all in favor? Aye.
Excellent.
Good?
Thank you very much.
All right.
What's the value of this?
Registration for $150. How much? $150.
Thank you for the Halloween event, it went well. Thank you to all the staff and the volunteers that helped
Really did. It
out.
was nice. The pictures went up, thank you so much.
Oh, yeah, you got it right.
Yeah, it was great. It was unfortunate with the weather.
Yeah.
I was talking to Nancy today. I don't know if we could do like a reverse rain date, so we knew it was Sunday, and we knew the weather was gonna be bad Sunday. Maybe we could jump it next year to Saturday. But 2 huge parades are in on Saturday, Nyack and Sloatsburg, so we don't normally do it on that Saturday, so we'll have to, because Saturday was gorgeous. But
We may, and think about this, just keep that trunk or treat that we were
Yes.
discussing.
yes.
Maybe we could do something like that next year in
Okay.
conjunction. Maybe we don't have to have the whole parade on Lafayette Avenue. Maybe if there's a big parking lot available, and we could have the parade through the parking lot and the trunk or treat there at the
Yeah,
same
I
time.
think that would be wonderful. Yes,
Maybe,
definitely.
but we'll keep that in mind.
Yeah.
It's something different.
Mhm.
We are allowed to change the rules here, not the rules, the agendas here.
Yes, I agree. I think that was nice.
All
And
right.
that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
Chief Osborne.
Okay, thank you, Mayor, thank you, Board. I just got an update for you. I think a few things you should be aware of. Number one is We went through our New York State accreditation process. 2 weeks ago, we've been working for the last 4 or 5 months getting ready for it. Accreditation is a set of 110 standards that's set by the Division of Criminal Justice Services. It's a voluntary program to go into to be in compliance. 20% of the departments in New York State are accredited, us being one of them. We've been accredited since 2009 when I took over as chief. Into late 2005, I felt that a lot of our policies were redundant, a lot of our policies contradictory. I didn't like the way things looked when I took over. We started working on it. It took us a few years to get everything in order. We were accredited in 2009, re-accredited in 2014, and 2 weeks ago we came back with 3 state assessors for 3 days who basically came to our station and checked all our files. We have got user files on every possible scenario, being 110 standards on use of force, taser incidents, domestic violence incidents, budgeting, how we do everything. They were here for 3 days. They did ride-alongs with officers. They just pull in officers off the road and start grilling them on standards. The mayor, I think you got asked some questions as well, Mayor, when we were downstairs.
Yes.
I think they asked about, some things with the village. On a good note, after 3 days, they basically came in and told us we're going to be re-accredited in December in Albany, so we'll probably go up to get our certificate. One thing I do like about accreditation, it's a set standard that the state has approved. So if we have a use of force incident, we go, here you go, here's the policy, boom, 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 boom. We have a set standard that is set on what we do. And that's, I'm talking 110 standards, so it's pretty much in everything. So it's very good to have for us, feel very strongly about it. We're the only village in Rockland County to have that as villages. It's a lot of work, a lot of time. Lieutenant Lockton took it on this year and really did a great job of it. So that's a good thing for us. Today we had anyway to talk to them about this.
Just let me interject here that I did participate with the accreditation and the review process and the briefing, and they really did rave about the way the department is run, the policies and procedures that are in place, and the accuracy and the record keeping and everything possible downstairs. They were very pleased with, and that's why we deserve to acknowledge that to the chief and to Lieutenant Andy Laughlin, who really spearheaded. And Colleen, oh shit, over there, sorry. Colleen Fuller in the back there. Wow, we're not used to seeing you here, but thank you, Colleen, and thank you, Chief, and please say thanks to Andy Laughlin, because I know that the inspectors, what were their titles?
They're state assessors, they're law enforcement executives from around the state. One was from Albany, one was from Yorktown, and one was from Yorktown.
Right.
So yeah, the state assessors.
They were great, and they really acknowledged the professionalism that Suffern Police Department has.
And I think, Mayor, one of the things I want to stress, which I know they stressed to me again after they left, was the relationships our department has with the board, with the different department heads, which is, we work great together, and all of us. And I think they did acknowledge that they noticed the relationships we had in the building. They actually commented on that several times, which I think is great for us. So. But thank you, I appreciate it very much. And secondly, we had a stolen car. We've had some stolen car issues around the county. We had one stolen at Good Samaritan Hospital after an extensive investigation about a month. Today we have actually made an arrest on it. It was a person who stole a car here at Good Samaritan Hospital. Camera wasn't the best, so we had to do a lot of legwork on this. Tracked it down through a series of, our detective bureau tracked this person down through a series of investigative techniques, and this person apparently had driven to Allendale, New Jersey, committed some burglaries, Bergen County. He's being held in Bergen County Jail, and today we extradited him to New York to face law charges as well as charges in Clarksville. So that was a good thing. I think he just give you a heads up. That just happened 4 or 5 o'clock today. We just go, thank you. Now that went good. Before I go to the last thing, I want to make sure I give you an updated criminal justice reform. I just asked that if we could nominate Vic Wolf as a dispatcher pending Rockland County approval. He has been approved by the county. I'm asking if we can start him as of November 3rd, which would be Sunday, just to get him started to train, and because it's going to take a few weeks to get him trained. We're nominating him for...
So he was cleared.
Correct. Correct.
So we already nominated him. Oh, here it is.
Yeah.
Right? He was already
Correct.
nominated?
Yes,
Yes,
it's
even as for, yes.
Right.
Yep.
We could do a formal announcement.
Okay, so now, right now, we would be seeking to appoint him
Correct.
this evening.
Even if you do it the next meeting, if you can make it back, whatever.
Okay.
That's either way for us, for this one.
Either one.
Either one?
I don't have to go.
So what's the board,
That's fine.
what is the board favor? So it's this Sunday,
I think it's on Sundays.
starting on Sunday.
That's what it
And
is.
then formalize it with an appointment at the board meeting on the 6th.
Whatever's good for you guys, fine with it.
Yeah, that's fine with, that's okay, council, yeah. Paul,
That's fine.
Moira?
Good.
Keith? Good, okay, good, perfect.
Great, thank you, Mayor, thank you, Board. And the last thing I want to explain, I've been talking to Mayor, I've liked about this for a while, but I think it's time to bring it to the Board's attention, is the criminal justice reform that's going to be taking place here in New York State as of January 1st, 2020. It's a sweeping reform. I've been on a committee in the county, meeting every week for probably the last 2 to 3 months. And as representatives of each department, I represent obviously our department in the village. This is the most sweeping reform nationwide. It's not just local, it's nationwide. This is the most sweeping reform I think we're ever going to see. But there's a lot of issues I think you need to be aware of as local municipal officials that we're going to deal with, every one of us here in the state. Number one, discovery. Discovery means is the information that we turn over to the district attorney's office that turns it over to the defense counsel. There's really never been a time limit, so if we turn it over in 3 weeks, 2 weeks, whatever, normal time, kept to turn it over, it was fine. The new criminal justice reform, which was passed in Albany by the state legislature, gives us 15 days to get it to defense attorney, which means we have to complete it, get it to the DA's office within 24 to 48 hours. They need to then review it, take everything they need, redact what they need, and get it to defense counsel. This is going to cause an absolute disaster in the state. It means all the paperwork needs to be done, which means it'll be uncontrollable to control the overtime with this. Ramapo Police, I just met with the chief today up there, over this, they put in for $1 million additional in their budget just for this. Their obviously budget is from January to January, so they're working on it now. We got a little time to see where it goes with us. But I just want to make sure you're aware of this. This is nothing we can do. The state mandate, it's an unfunded mandate. If we do not do it, our cases will be dismissed here in the village, and very serious cases will get to us as well. We're actually working with Magrino on our computer bandwidth, or I should say our internet bandwidth. We're at 60 or 70 speed right now. We have to go up to 100 minimum to make the system work with the portal that we have to upload the material and get it to the district attorney's office, a secure site. That will be an increase in cost. Magrino is working on that. Now, that is going to be a necessary item that we have no choice to do. I don't think that's going to be very expensive, but Mike has been working very well with us. And I just want you to understand what we're dealing with and what we're all going to deal with here. There's bail elimination. There's going to be bail taken on very few offenses in the state. It has to be what we call a qualifying offense to have bail taken on it. I have a list I'm going to give you in a second from the state district attorney's office on several of the high-profile crimes that we can't take bail on, including manslaughter, including robbery second, which is by force, aided by another, robbing people, ripping off, burglary, breaking into somebody's house. We can't take bail on anymore. That's in the state legislature. There was no communication between the state legislature and law enforcement or district attorneys and prosecutors. This is setting up for New York State to be in a disaster situation. We're meeting with the elected officials, state, Senate, and Assembly tomorrow morning as chiefs of Rockland County to basically let them know what we perceive is going to happen here in New York State. Another issue we're going to have here is arraignments. We have to arraign people in 12 hours in all cases. If our judges are unavailable, which are unfortunate, our judges are part-time judges in all fairness. They have other things going. If they can't get them in 12 hours, we'll have to take them to a arraignment, basically a central arraignment center, which could be in Clarkstown, which means I'm going to have to take, if I'm a member of staff, call officers in to take somebody to be arraigned. That's never been on the books before. Now it is law. Warrants are
Did they say how they're going to share that cost? We know we spoke about it and I spoke about it, but you never came up with the cost of the centralized arraignment. That'd be a good question to figure out.
Still being worked on. I met today with the committee and the district attorney's office. It's still being worked on right now, what I show you. Exactly because of the cost.
Right.
Where it's going to be. Our judge at one point may have to be on standby. That's something the judges will work out. But the problem we're going to do is we have somebody in Clarkstown to get him in 12 hours. That's going to be a problem. But it is what it is. Warrants, the craziness for the courts. The courts are going to get the burden, and Colleen's going to get the burden as a records clerk with what's going to happen with this. Because she's going to be more responsible. We're going to try to help her as much as we can. We'll know more up to January what we're going to need and what we can't do, what we're going to need, what additional resources. Because the problem is, even with warrants, we used to be able to issue a warrant upon somebody not showing up to court. The state is gonna make the justice courts and all the courts either notify these people through phone call, through text. You have to notify them that they have another court date, which is absolutely ludicrous. But that's how the law reads, and we have to follow it. And I think the most disturbing, there's two most disturbing things to me about this whole, I'll email us, anything you guys want to work on it for once. The most disturbing to me is, under this new law, if somebody breaks in your house and commits a violent crime, by law, they're allowed to come back with a defense attorney to go back in the house and inspect the scene. And if the district attorney's office can try to fight it and appeal it. The way we're going to try to fight it is every crime scene will be taking pictures and videos to have them to try to fight that they don't have to go back because we have everything already.
And then all of those pictures and videos have to be uploaded and transmitted back to the
Totally.
DA's office within the 12-hour
Oh, yeah.
period.
We're getting 24 period.
24-hour period, excuse me.
Which is a lot because officers are still taking calls.
Right.
We're still doing our job. It's going to time everybody up. Yeah.
It's arraignments within 12 hours.
Great, that's correct. Evidence has to be.
Yeah, but all the
Was
evidence and
it
the
before 24 hours?
We generally had 24, that's one. We really never even went past that. But 12 is restricted. We get a person at 8 at night. We can't get a judge. It just happened till the late morning next morning. That's what he's saying. That's what I'm doing. We're going to meet with the court soon with the charge I need. I already spoke to the court a little bit about this, but I want to see what their take is on some of things that we're going to try to work out what we need to work out as much as we can with what we know. So, to be honest, we really don't want these things. It's, you know, we see it coming, and we see it coming like a train wreck, but we just don't know until it actually is.
Are we also going to be responsible for the storage of all of that evidence, or once we transmit it up through the DEMS program, we still have to keep a copy?
Yeah, just to give you how crazy the new law is, any video that we have, we could walk a person, pull up in a police car, walk the door back, go down the stairs, there's 3 cameras. One outside, one facing downstairs, one up, just to protect everybody. We have to give, from the second that person walks in, the second leave, all of that storage in that door, which has nothing to do with the case. We have to give it all. A few things, there's 2 things we're able to do by law, under the statute of research. Number 1, we're going to try to put on a time lapse instead of filming 24 hours, besides the cell area, which we really want to film 24/7 there. Some departments, believe it or not, I believe in the county, are not going to tape certain things anymore. Because if you don't, you're not by law required to have videotape. That's what I think some of them are going to do. But the only problem is they're also placing the municipality at risk if there is an incident. These tapes protect us, they don't hurt us, they protect us.
But I think the board needs to realize at the same time, like all the information that you're talking about, that we're going to have to be gathered. Who's going to gather it?
Yeah.
When are they going to gather it?
Yeah, it's a lot.
Who's capable of downloading the information from the recording devices that we have in the station house? Right?
It's a lot.
Where are you gonna store it?
Where are you going to store it? I think on the flash, you can do it on flash drives or CDs. I think they did. Did they
Yeah,
say that also?
yes.
Right. That's kind of.
When does this all take effect?
January, right? Well, when it came out, we've been trying to figure out every piece of this to try to minimize it. The more we meet, the more we start digging, the bigger the problem. The towns are facing a major issue now because their budgets are now. They're lost in Orangetown, I talked to today. They're putting out additional staff. Most people are, it's a lot. It's
I
gonna
read something about the district attorney, New York State District Attorneys Association is going to be approaching the governor on it.
They're fighting this hard too because they realize the mandate's upon them. I'll give you an example. One of the biggest things besides the person being able to get back to the house is we make a drug arrest. We set up the state police lab, generally 3-month turnaround. It's normal, a couple of months because they're down because of the turnaround time. They're going to want it in 15 days. We can't do it. So the county was talking today. One of the ideas is getting a private lab to do it at the county's expense. But that's going to be a major expense for drug cases to get them back.
Private lab.
You know how much that's going to be? But the problem is we're all paying, all of us, for the state lab, which is it's ridiculous. It just wasn't very well thought out. I understand bail reform, I understand criminal justice reform is needed, so I really do. I have no problem with that. This is basically knee-jerk reaction to, without getting any professional insight, what's going to happen. So you can have a guy come and rob him, smack somebody over the head, rob him, beat him up, bring him in, 12 hours, they're out.
He's out.
They could be out there doing the same thing. The biggest concern I think I have is in my position, and as we talked about in our position chiefs, is the domestic violence situation where people are going to be released and go back. And I think the domestic violence advocates, so many people are just now finding out sweeping his yard.
That's interesting that they did that to domestic violence, because that was always like in a must-arrest
Yeah,
situation,
still a
right?
must-arrest, yeah.
Still a must-arrest, but you're still turning them out in 12 hours.
Yeah, the only ones that you're not gonna be able to domestic violence is like contempt of court. You violated no protection, then you can get bail. There's qualifying offenses, there's like 10 offenses. For Class A felonies, for murder, for real violent crimes, you can still take bail. But like, there's that, this is, that's it. These are all things we cannot take bail for you guys. And I copied it just because that's what state DA's office, I got that, just to show how crazy it is. It just doesn't make sense. But we have to deal with it. Tomorrow morning, we will meet with the Senate Assembly members representing our areas. I don't know if they're going to show up, they're supposed to show up. I think they're going to come in, I think they realize what's going to happen because I am just one chief in all county, in all state, that's all reporting to their boards on what's going to happen. So all of us are, we're going to take a very strong stance after the meeting with them. If there's any question, I know I covered a lot quick, I just thought you needed to know the basics. It's a whole belt, trust me, it's very deep, but it is, to me, this isn't about party line, this is about public safety for everybody.
Right.
And I think all of us have to be concerned, no matter what political philosophy you have on these particular issues, because it's going to cause a lot of headaches for our communities.
Plus the budgetary impact that we have to consider
Budgetary
during the budget cycle.
We're going to get hit on it.
Right.
Some departments are going to, when you got the department, which were part of the town,
Right.
I met the chief today, I talk to him every day about this stuff. $1 million in next year's budget, and he said, he explained it, they were like, understood once he explained how many calls they get, the rest is going to be a lot. So we just got to be ready for it.
Colleen, you ready?
So
Yeah, it's going to be.
felony drug use offenses involving the use of children,
Exactly. You can't even.
including the use of a child to commit a controlled substance offense.
You
And
can't.
criminal sale of a controlled substance to a child.
Can't let yourself. Steve, I gotta tell you, Steve, even people like that, I got friends on both sides of the spectrum, every one of my friends looked at that, like, this is nuts. Because like you said, it's crazy.
Do they have to give the witnesses' names too? Is that?
Yeah, that's another, I don't want to get too deep, but there's forms we have to fill out. You ever find out witnesses and contact information of witnesses and victims' contact information within 15 days on a form we have to fill out. But I'm gonna explain that more, there's other things I'm still working on with that right now.
So like you have to.
Have no choice.
You have to ask them for that.
Right, the witness can just say, I'm not going to give you an email and I'll respond. So
Right.
there's ways that they can do things to protect themselves. I'm just researching, I don't have all the answers, I will soon. This is so, it's just so sweet. I was watching a segment on Channel 4 today, at this meeting, we bought a 10-minute segment. Even NBC was saying the political ad is just how dangerous this will be to victims of crime. That's what I think it's about.
Well,
So
thank you, Chief, and just,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
please let me know what goes on
I won't.
tomorrow.
I didn't mean to just go, but I think you need to know, this is that serious.
And when is that meeting that you were having with the other chiefs?
We're gonna meet with the elected officials of the state tomorrow morning.
Oh, tomorrow?
It's a state, just, we wanna go in there, and I think what we wanna do is give them the opportunity to hear us, and then at that point, we're gonna basically, the gloves will come off, it will be on public safety for letting people ever know what distributing the public. Because I put some stuff out, we haven't done everything out, I just wanna see their response first, and see if, one of our local senators was a co-sponsor of it, here in Rockland County, so he co-sponsored the bill. His name's not all over it, so we're hoping he shows up tomorrow. So we can address, why would you do this without consulting any of us? Because we don't have any manipulation.
Yeah, I would like to know what the yeas and nays on this legislation.
Well, I'm gonna point, I have.
The bill is online. You can go look at the bill. It's on there.
Well, I think it's good, if you just go to New York State Criminal Justice Reform, it comes up.
Yeah.
I have the bill, it's just a long thing to read, but there's so much more in there that I didn't get. I have a PowerPoint that thick today that I went through, just meeting for 2 hours. There's so many intricate things that we're gonna have to deal with on a police front. So I just want to make you aware of it, so.
Well, I can only speak for myself, but I'd be more than happy to at least address a letter to the state legislature and the governor
Yeah,
in support of law enforcement and how are they supposed to do this?
It's gonna crazy. Crazy.
And how do you protect the citizenry with all of this?
Yeah, exactly. The first person that's victimized until I gets out, I hate to say it, and I said this meeting for all the other elected officials, I've said it before, and I've made it very clear. The first time that someone gets out, like a domestic goes back and God forbid harms and kills someone, that's it, everybody's gonna throw their hands up, oh my God, it's gonna be too late. And that's why, I wish they should address it now, and I don't see them changing this before January. I hope they do, but I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, it's interesting to see what will happen
I hope they
before
do.
January 1, before someone is victimized.
We will be letting our residents know very soon about this, but I just didn't go crazy with it yet. I really felt tomorrow, I wanna see who shows up and what they say. I felt in all fairness, that was a fair thing to do to see where we're going with this.
Well, I do think sooner rather than later, because
Absolutely.
we need time
I'm
to
gonna be out tomorrow afternoon again. We don't get
go
this.
after our representation that said that all of this was a good thing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's out of New York City.
Correct.
It was really written out of New York City by the legislators out of New York. So,
But it wouldn't have
that's
gained
what it says in
traction
the-
if you didn't get enough of a majority vote.
A whole nother subject.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Very good.
Thank you.
Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sure. Thank you, okay.
Mr. Zawicki.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to update the board on a few items. The milling and paving for Phase 10 roadway improvements is complete with the striping to follow next week, weather permitting. Curbing and ADA ramp project, which is the right-of-way improvement project, is substantially complete. The contractor is bringing in a local sprinkler contractor to make all the repairs. Up there in the Stonegate area, seemed like everyone had sprinklers.
All right.
And so there's a lot of issues that were gonna get resolved.
Also more than just the one. letter.
Yeah, there was a few of that, quite a few. Everyone seemed to have issues.
This afternoon, it was even across the street, it was.
Yeah, yeah, so the one thing that he agreed to do was to bring in someone that knows what they're doing. And he's a local, I don't have the name in front of it, but he's a local sprinkler contractor that has the expertise to make those repairs. And then, of course, the landscaping will commence, or we'll start with the remaining work on the landscaping, the topsoil seeding and that type of thing. Should go this week, again.
Is the seeding going to be any good? Can we seed now?
Yeah.
Or are they going to come
yeah.
back?
Well, yeah, I mean, we'll see how it goes. If it's all weather dependent, right? So if the weather holds up as it has in the last.
It's November. I don't think grass is going to grow. That's what I'm saying.
Well, if it gets real cold, it's not, yeah. But
Right.
if he has to come back, we'll hold the retainage and make sure he comes back.
So would it even be worth it to seed now? Or should we
Yeah,
just-
yeah, definitely, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
He may, like you said, may have to come back,
Right.
but, yeah.
Actually, fall's a better time to seed than spring.
We're almost in winter.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah, we're almost-
yeah, it's pretty late.
It's late, man. It's
November
November.
15th,
Yeah.
the horror show.
Mm.
Yeah.
All right. It's only grass seed.
Yeah.
So how long of a punch list do you have of issues?
Well, actually, Joe Hunt put together a pretty substantial punch list. We gave it to the contractor. He's working on it, and there's a number of items. Yeah, so he'll get them all corrected. Yeah. The Lane Avenue project, unfortunately, we're still waiting for a DOT permit. Unfortunately, the gentleman that was in charge of issuing permits, I think I might have mentioned this the last time, he got reassigned. One that actually is the engineer in charge assumed his responsibility. He's not that familiar with the whole process. He actually gave us the wrong permit initially because the project is over $300,000. It falls into another permit. I'm hopeful that we have maybe some good news over the next couple of days. So.
This is dragging on too long.
Oh, yeah, it's just great. And that's the unfortunate thing is when you're dealing with a New York State DOT, when you're required to get a permit, it could be done in a reasonable amount of time, but then on the other hand, it could take a long time.
Is there restrictions on the grant?
Uh,
Fred, would you know?
It's a 2016, 2017 grant for a total of $275,000.
Right.
And I spoke to Maria Frank, who's head of the department, and we're okay. She knows that we're working on it. We got this obstacle in front of us that it's not due to our own fault, so she knows that we'll be wrapping it up in the springtime. That's probably.
Okay, so we're good
Yeah.
past December 30th.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. And there was a few items that Moira had asked me to address. One was is there some complaints about odors at the sanitary, municipal treatment area? So I did speak with the chief operator today. Couple things. There is off gases from the digester that is sometimes a little bit worse than others, other times, and really depends on the weather, the wind, you know. The other thing was that the integral clarifier was down for a couple of days, and that's our ongoing problem child down there, where the chain breaks and it's not functional until we can get in there to make those repairs. So that could be the issues. Were there a number of people that complained? I'm not sure.
Yeah, there were a couple of people that complained, but I do remember, I think it was after last month's board meeting, when we were standing outside.
Yeah, I notified Charles, and we sent somebody there, and it wasn't.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it's
a
yeah.
couple of complaints all throughout the month. So why? Like, do you need spare chains?
Well, it's an antiquated system that we have to have ports fabricated, and we have ports on hand, and it's a matter of getting out there, because we utilize the sewer department to make those repairs, with their chip crane and so on and so forth. So that repair will be done tomorrow. Usually we can get out there the same day, but particularly this week, it was delayed a day or so. Those repairs should be done tomorrow.
Actually, we could just roll right into the meeting that we had to share with the board,
Oh, yeah.
what we did today in regards to the modifications and upgrades to the plant and the old design and the consent order. So we're still pursuing the extension on the consent order. I believe they're going to have to give it to us. In reality, there's no other choice. And then the upgrades and modifications, we're looking for them to give a preliminary review of what we provided them and which direction we're going. If they give us the okay on that, we can start to make modifications to the plant now that will also be useful for when we do the upgrade, the full upgrade and modification to the plant. So there is design flaws in it in regards to the chain and the hell is that thing called, Charles? There's
The flight?
the flight.
Right.
The flight and the way the flight and the chain work together, and it can fall off, and then they have to drain the tank down. That causes a disturbance within the plant itself, and for the plant to stabilize, once again, it takes upwards of 30 days, so there would be some odors, not constant, but once they get the plant restabilized, then the odors go away to some degree.
Okay, one of the other items here was you asked about the industrial, the IPP survey.
Yeah.
So we're ongoing discussions on how we're going to handle that. We haven't come to any final determination, but we will be reviewing that and see what our options are. Repaving, I talked about.
Let's just go back, I'm sorry, just
Yeah.
because when we were on the wastewater topic, it's so much information that they are also, we are expecting some possible awards for the grant money in November. And once again, when's the next grant period award, Fred, do you know?
There's 2 grants that we applied for. One's called, with the DEC, the Water Quality Improvement Project.
Right.
Okay, the project's $9 million. We applied for a $5 million grant, okay? We could get $1 million, we could get $2 million, we could get $5 million, we could get nothing, okay? That's going to be announced by the governor in December before the holidays.
Mhm.
The other one is through the Environmental Facility Corp of New York, okay? Once again, $9 million project. You can get up to 25% of the cost of the project, which is $2.25 million. And you also can get low interest financing for the entire cost of the project, the full $9 million. And that's gonna be announced in mid-November.
So I think we're a good qualifier because we've been showing active work and interest in taking action with an operational excellence program that we have a presentation that we present to them every time we go, and we show all the steps along the way, what improvements we have been making to get that plant back up into permit without any additional modifications, getting it back up and running to what it should be, the way it was built, as built, and to work in permit, and also at a permit, Charles, when we're at a permit, what is the?
The interim permit?
Yeah, the interim permit.
Right.
So we're working right through the interim permit and permit, and hoping we get grant money.
So Fred, what happens if we're awarded it, then we have a plan that's not costing $9 million? Does that affect the amount of the award?
So we, say it again?
If we turn out that, with, discussions of a different plan, that doesn't cost $9 million.
Right. A different plan is actually less.
Yeah.
Well, the engineering report is actually submitted in both applications to the DEC and the EFC, and those communications are going back and forth between Delaware Engineering, Rob Flores. So they're talking about any manipulation of the plan itself, such as there's a cost differential. They would be aware of it prior to the awarding.
Okay. No, well, I'm also saying if it's post-award.
Post-award.
Yeah. I mean, does the amount of the grant get modified?
That's a good question. I'd have to. It should get modified. It should get modified because the maximum is 25% of the total cost of the project.
Well, that one, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
So if the project goes down to $8 million, they would see that. Because on that grant, we're also going for the financing of the total project, so they're gonna say, oh, you're not financing $9 million, you're only financing $8 million. Then why do we give you so much money on the grant side, so.
Okay.
We're in communication with these people all the time,
I
so.
think the way it works is it's based on the percentage of the actual cost of the project, so you talked about 25%.
Right.
So if it's $9 million, or if it's $8.5
Yeah,
million.
but you say, what if it changes after the grant's already awarded? Because the
Yeah, I
grant
think that's,
is-
well, because, the actual cost is gonna be the actual cost, right? You don't know that until you
Yeah.
build the project, so I think that what they do is, it's maximum $9 million. But if it comes in at $8 million,
Right.
and they pay on $8 million.
Didn't we have some discussions, though, that the actual work that might be necessary is far less than $9 million
That's why I'm bringing it up.
in the past? I don't know.
There was a lot of talk, a lot of different projects, but this upgrade and modification now is we bonded out for $9 million. We issued bond for $9 million. Maybe the project will come in for $8 million, $7 million, based on what the DEC finds in the initial review, the preliminary review of what of the design we gave them. So they might say, okay, we take your design, we take all your design here, but now we changed your permit or your speedies permit. Now you have to monitor for ammonia, phosphor, sodium chloride. Now that project line, $9 million, goes to $15 million. If they say we don't need phosphor and sodium removal because of the Class A type of waterway we're dumping into, then that will most likely reduce some of the price of the upgrade. But at the same time, we may, it's just so many variables, we may be able to start to implement the upgrade project now, say at the headworks where we need to put in the muffin monsters and
Are we
screens.
settled on a design for $9 million, or is
We
this-
settled on a design, we have a design, we don't know the actual cost until we put it out to bid. Is that correct, Charles?
Yeah, I believe if I remember correctly, Delaware did put together an engineer's estimate of if it came under $9 million, it was
Right.
8.8 or something like that. I don't remember exactly.
We're awaiting approval from the DEC. We need the extension on the consent order, and we need, the most important part of it is to see if they're changing the permit. If they change the permit on it, it may change the ballgame totally in a different direction. But, it's all.
We are, if we are able to repair what we have and meet the criteria that we need to meet, why would we need to spend $9 million? I guess
That's what they're going to interpret. but most likely we are going to need to upgrade.
I
The
think what
plan.
Michael would say is that the paperwork that was submitted would enable us to bond up to 9
Up to
million.
9 million.
That
on the
doesn't
bond.
mean you're going
Yeah.
to bond, that's
Right.
what we've been approved for. So hopefully it will be much less than that.
We're saving, we're trying to recover the trickling filters. The 2 tanks need to be modified and the, what's it? I'm getting good at wastewater. The thickener, right? Yeah. And it also ties into the sewer pipe replacement. That also ties into the consent order.
The I-9?
So,
Yeah.
yeah, the I-9 part. It's all tied to one big consent order.
And though we do have the bonding, Fred's been working diligently on getting us those grants.
Right. And he's doing a great job on it.
Oh, you guys are great.
He is.
No, he really is. He really is.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else with yours? Okay. So you mentioned about out-of-service lights. You talking about the Ballard lights? And which lights were you talking
Those
about?
street lights, the tall ones,
Yeah.
I saw 2.
2 are out?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll have to check that.
There's one definitely out right on
Just
Suffern's
replace it,
place
you know.
in Lafayette, in front of like Randy's building there,
Okay.
right in front of
I haven't came in early in the morning and come through town.
the locksmith.
So I
Or
can-
maybe we can have the police department
That usually Clark
Sur-
does that, and I get,
survey them.
I get to know.
Yeah.
We're working
I
in
know
the
it's been out
Stonegate
for at
area on
least,
their poles.
2 weeks.
Okay.
And some bollard light, I think one bollard light I saw.
It might be one tall one and one short one. Not
They
sure.
have numbers
I
on
feel
them,
like
just
it's-
so if you do,
I was
be
driving.
easier, I know, I drive by too, and it's
I'll be
easier if
wrong,
you
yeah.
get the number.
All right. The ADA ramp by Suffern Furniture that we have that ready to pour probably one of the next sunny days, right? One of the next sunny days. we'll get that.
So we're getting the truck for all of the concrete work
I
for?
canceled it twice because of the weather.
We did, okay.
I
So
can't,
that is the plan, when we get some decent weather, which might not be until Friday, right?
hopefully,
Yeah, so.
tomorrow, not what we're gonna need is Thursday.
The ball field bathrooms, again, we had some discussion on trying to schedule the manpower to get in there to do that. Joe had made some suggestions on pressure washing the floor and the walls and getting some epoxy paint on, again, on a short-term basis. Get some epoxy paint on that floor and the walls halfway up or so. And then making it some, miscellaneous minor thing, repairs in there. And then, of course, long-term, we'll need to look at it, and long-term will be more expensive. But that'll be a short-term plan. The dead trees, we have a work order for that. We'll be getting to that. You mentioned about potholes on Chestnut. Did you mean Washington or on Chestnut? There's potholes on Chestnut?
Oh, I meant
Washington, okay, yeah,
okay. Where you had gotten the railroad people to repair, it's starting to get bad again, the winter's coming.
It's only gonna get worse once we start plowing. But we'll see, everybody's changing, southern Norfolk.
If we could see if we could get another repair, it did last for a
We
while.
wanted to do
But
the
we're
whole
running out of
thing.
time.
I'm sorry, what was that, Maura? Well,
When you go over the railroad track,
on Washington?
yeah, that I call Chestnut, yeah. Yeah, it's getting all sorts of.
Who did we work with last time outside over there on Orange and
The railroad people.
outside Muggs? They did it, railroad?
Where?
Outside Muggs, outside Curly's.
North Southern.
They did all of that work?
Yes, cutting all the brush and
Right.
stuff down in between.
No, doing the
I
crossing.
think that was part of that O&R project, wasn't it?
That was a rehab from them and O&R. When O&R did the pipe crossing with the gas main,
Oh,
so they had, unlevel grounds and
Right,
New Jersey
right.
Transit. New Jersey Transit contractor did it through the O&R course. Most of that stuff's laying underneath the bridge, we saw it.
can we find out if somebody can do it? Washington Avenue?
Yeah, we'll, we'll make that request. I
And
think
then
that the
the
challenge
street
here
on
is,
that, North Fork Southern said it's not a major road. They're only gonna blacktop, not gonna rubberize it. It's not a main line.
Main line in a rail line or a main road?
I mean, a main road.
Tell them that we have emergency vehicles there, that fire department is right there, and it's a critical crossing to the village of Suffern.
yeah, well, I think the challenge here is getting to talk to the right person,
Person,
right? So
yeah.
we'll make that effort again.
Okay. I'm sorry. Did we ever make a meeting with DOT, schedule a meeting for DOT in the crossing at Estegit-Low?
No, Danielle's been working on it, I made some calls, I
Right.
wait for some calls back, and Mary's
Okay.
trying to schedule a meeting, getting everybody together to
Okay.
discuss that. Get the right people together to discuss that. Let's see what we got. The painting of the entrance signs. Now, I guess there was a proposal that for replacement, however, that was 21 grand or something to replace the signs. The other option would be that, we can go in there and paint the black.
The black frames.
Frame on those
It's really
signs.
the white posts that look really.
Right.
That signage replacement was quoted at 21,000.
No, I think it was, what, how many signs were there? It was a bunch of.
11,
Bunch.
12.
Yeah.
You have 3 different size signs with the train on it, and the sign manufacturer won't do wood anymore. They're doing PVC signs in 3 layers. And then it comes into factor if you want the gold trim. I actually pulled it, but I forgot to bring it up for Charles, because we have signs that were run over through insurance claims that never got taken care of, never got approved to be taken care of. I think I got only 2 people came out to give us quotes on it. I called it 5.
Good job, Joe.
You had another question about O&R, you said? More?
Yeah, we've had conversation before, like when Orange and Rockland comes in and bricks up the street,
Yeah,
and they do that narrow, awful patch,
right.
that they don't come back and do any better paving,
Well,
but that they'll pay for.
yeah, well, where we're looking, I mean, there are couple options there is there was a couple issues on Round Hoe.
Round was getting bad.
Yeah, but there was, Joe actually identified when they were working out there, when they're closer to the curb, maybe about 6 feet from the curb, they had a, probably 2-foot excavation, and they had to get down, maybe the 3-foot depth. The material underneath the pavement between the excavation.
Yeah.
So anyway, so we're dealing with that.
It's any place
Yeah,
that they've
so,
done it, it's horrible.
right. So what 2 options we have are to, obviously, stay on top of them, to get out there, and Joe's been doing, he's been on their case, on a fairly regular basis. Have to get them out there to do any repairs. So the options we have would be for them to come back and they would mill and then pave, or we get back into a cost sharing agreement as we did last year and be able to get the full width of the roadway is done, and obviously we can pay a portion of that. So that is kind of what we're looking at, and obviously present it to the board and see what your decision would be.
Because there's so much of Bonnier, I know, because I was in there today.
Right.
So much of Bonnier, all due to the Orange and Rockland business. Radical Avenue is horrible.
They also have to allow for, after they trench, for it to settle at the same time.
Yes.
So the settling time,
Yeah.
what do they recommend on a settling time?
Well, we like to go with a 6-month period,
Right.
generally speaking, or maybe a
Radical
little
was
more.
done a long time ago, so
Yeah.
was Bonnier.
Another year.
Right. So, Bon Air was, I wouldn't know when that was.
Mine are like 11 years old.
That's,
I know,
it's a
it's
long time ago, yeah.
But they should be responsible to a certain extent for, right?
They are. Don't they own a piece of it for a certain amount of time, or?
Well, that's the,
That's a conflict.
yeah, that's a little bit of an issue, I think. During that point in time, say 12 years ago or longer, there was a different permit. And I think they generally have a 2 to 3 year window that they would be willing to maintain these roads. So, but we don't allow them to do that anymore. We just go in and cut their, for the pavement, for the excavation, and just patch it back. We now have them at least do a lane. And, it's either that they do the lane or they we go into that cost sharing agreement with them. So, what was done, 12, 15 years ago wouldn't be done today. So we get, again, let's say around, if we chose not to go with that cost sharing agreement, they'd have to at least mill and pave one lane where they did put their main in.
So,
From say the center line to the curb.
so any of the funds that we've gotten in the cost sharing arrangement that we utilized, say for just the number 10 project that we just finished, was any of the monies from the work they did in Ramapo applied to the roads that we did today, or is that still coming to
No,
us?
the monies that we got from O&R was last year. So we held off. We were trying to get into an agreement this year, but because of issues in Ramapo and other areas, we wanted to wait. We didn't want to get into that agreement, because we get into that agreement, then we pretty much own the roads. You know what I'm saying? So we've taken responsibility. So we want to make sure that all the settlement is complete, and any patching that they need to do, they do. And then we reach a point that we can get to an agreement with them. Again, if the board chooses to do that, then we can then put our bid packet together and pave the whole road, all around where the other roads that were affected.
That's the.
But no, but just to be clear, there was,
Yeah.
yeah, just to be clear, there was no monies, O&R monies in this round, phase 10.
There were no, okay.
Yeah, just to be clear on that.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so get back to the agenda. Application for payment, I'm going to put that on hold right now, and I don't have enough information to proceed with that. If I get enough information over the next few days, I'll talk to Amy and maybe get on there, but right now I don't have enough information. I'd like to get authorization for Stanley Dobrinsky and John Conklin to attend the Hudson Valley Waterworks Conference on November 13th, 2019, Montgomery, New York, $30 each employee. And then the last item here is the modification to the New York State DOT snow and ice agreement. So this will require a resolution, and I'll send it, I can send it to the entire board, but I'll make sure I get it to Amy, so we can get a resolution to it. It's not a lot of money, it's $210 difference from what.
More or less?
More.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the good news.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, so anyway, they require a resolution for that. Any other questions?
Yeah, I've got a couple for you. So I had a question from a constituent about the status of the Bartlett Survey, DEC best practices, RFP.
Right.
So what's the status on the work that's recommended?
Well, I am working on putting an RFP together. I'm figuring that we might, within the next few weeks, be able to get that together, get that out. We have until like March 15th to actually get that work completed. Otherwise, we have to wait for the growing season, and then we have to wait another period of time. But we're working on getting that together. I should hopefully get that together in the next few weeks.
Okay, and another constituent was inquiring about, apparently in New York State, I'm not personally knowledgeable about this, but apparently New York State is changing the lead requirements for the water supply and making it more stringent. Do we already comply with the new proposed rules, or are we going to have to take action with our laws?
We're full compliant.
Even with the new regulations?
Right,
Taking.
yeah, we don't have any lead issues, fortunately.
Okay.
So.
Just check on that. And
Just so you know too, we applied for a grant in February of this year with the DEC and the Department of Health for $50,000 to analyze our water wells.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that was supposed to be, the announcements awards were supposed to be made in June of this year. it was the first time they were running the program. They've now had a change in personnel as well, so we don't anticipate that they're going to make the announcements to the beginning of next year at the earliest. But we have that.
Right.
As long as, regarding grant related on the tree thing, apparently there's $11,000 to $25,000 available in grants regarding the trees.
Okay.
That's the shade tree line?
Yeah, this is also, there's like 5 DEC grants related to trees that are out there, and they're floated basically annually, okay? And they're due December 4th,
Okay.
all right? And due to the size of our community, the minimum amount of the grant award is $11,000, and then you have to contribute 25% on top of that. So in other words, if you get awarded $11,000 the minimum, then you gotta do the $2,500 extra on top of that. Our shade tree budget annually, okay, we expense about $3,000. Okay, and we gotta know what we would want to be doing with this money. In other words, yes, money's out there, but we don't have a need to plant that many trees. We don't have that type of need here within the municipality.
So if we were awarded the grant, it would be actually around over $13,000.
Yeah,
And that's what we would need to expend.
right.
And we don't even expend 3,000, and I don't think we have the manpower
Understood.
or the land.
So the
Plant
grant
trees.
is not for maintenance in any way?
Oh, yeah, some of it's for
Oh, it's
maintenance,
for
yeah,
maintenance.
sure. It's the same thing too for that grant. It's a minimum of $11,000.
Right.
Okay, once again, we only spend about $3,000 a year on our tree maintenance, so we don't have that much maintenance to do in the entire village. So it doesn't make sense, to apply for something.
Well,
Because I have to
wasn't that
definitively
arborist
say-
analysis, weren't they recommending removal of,
Yeah, there was, I
removal of
believe,
trees?
4 or 5
There's a couple of
trees.
trees that are actually
Well, I think we
considered
could,
invasive species now,
Yeah,
that they recommend removal of, that heaven on earth, or whatever that tree was called.
The invasive tree?
It's an invasive species.
Yeah.
It's heaven on earth, it is
They're
something
all over.
close to that.
well, that's part of, what, in development of this RFP, we have Joe has a good relationship with O&R and their tree service, and in many cases, they do help us out. So we might be able to, back that out of that, those requirement of the RFP, and we can do that, get that taken care of. So it's something that we're looking at, and
I think, Steve, going to the grant and those opportunities, it might be a good opportunity when we take title to the properties down in Squires Gate. I mean, depending on, I don't know, of course, the trees and the number of properties, and how much, if we could utilize a grant that year.
That would be great. The thing is
Would be
about the
great.
grant though, you have to definitively say where you're planting the tree, the type of trees and the
And there's
like.
no way to
So once,
apply this year, let's say, for a smaller grant, just, then you have to take a look.
11,000, wasn't it?
11,000 is the minimum.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah, but once we get that plan together in Squires Gate, that's a great idea.
Right, we have to put it together, a comprehensive plan, number of lots,
Right,
number of trees.
so next year would be great.
Understood. I don't mean to jump ahead, but I have one more note that actually probably relates more to you. So apparently there's some economic development funding available from the Governor's Regional Council, but apparently Suffern hasn't been getting these, hasn't been applying for these grants, or?
Well, there was the one which was the $10 million to a municipality awarded for rejuvenation of the downtown. Okay, so we applied for it for 2 years. We didn't apply for it for the last year. And just so you know, every year it's been awarded to a city. And I've complained and said, hey, why has it not been awarded to a smaller municipality? And why has no one in Rockland County ever won this award? Okay, and so they tend to give it to like Newburgh is won it, the city of Newburgh. Middletown won it, yeah.
But then they stopped it now.
They did have it. I don't know. I think they had it this spring. But it was sort of a moot point. It's like, a tremendous amount of work goes into one of these grant applications.
And then you don't get it.
And they don't get, and you're not even really
I just
considering.
wanted to inquire,
Yeah,
again, people ask questions, and I do my best to.
yeah.
Isn't that,
Yeah, but I worked more on that, on the 1 year we worked we put one in. So, and we, I say the whole thing, like with the gateway to the upstate New York, I mean, what meets here in Suffern, the thruway, the train, everything meets here. You gotta go to Suffern, you go to upstate. But,
I have one question.
There, please.
I'm not familiar with the leaves in the street, yes, no? There are a lot of people that throw the leaves in the street.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of leaves in the street
It's
already.
becoming a hazard, and my constituents complain every day. Especially on that. What's the deal?
Well-
Well, allowed to dump them?
Well, that's that's not a hot topic, not only here in Suffern, but I think throughout Rockland County. It's, most municipalities experience a lot of, it's very labor intensive, and it's costly. It's costly to be handling these leaves, and we do have, a period of time that's through December 15th, I think. After December 15th, then it has to be all in bags after the
Leaves
15th.
can go out on the curb from November 15th, on the curb, not
in
on the street.
I'm asking specifically.
Well, that's the thing, yeah.
Everybody's
Street, what do we
starting to
do?
put it into the street, well, they've always put it into the street. Nobody's really being proactive and telling them not to. We're the
Yeah.
only municipality that allows it. Everybody else very clearly says, no, not in the
Well,
street.
So when you say, I'm sorry, curb, where is there a curb on a lot of houses?
Well, the street,
Before the street.
edge of this roadway.
So
Or curb line.
where on your property?
On
Yeah.
where?
So it's in the right of way, it's not on your property, it's in the right of way, it shouldn't go in the road.
Yeah,
That's
what about
clear
the
in the
sidewalk?
local law.
Then it goes up onto
Yeah, that's
the,
right.
on the sidewalk.
So it's gotta stay on your yard, basically.
Yes.
Yeah, if you don't have any.
And you guys can pick it up if that's where it is.
So we blow it off the grass, onto the road as we're
And then
picking
you
it
pick it
up.
up, okay.
But because it's hazard during storms and freak snowstorms like we had last year, was turned into a catastrophe with all the leaves and the snow and the ice and everything else.
Yeah.
You know, so what we should do is send out a notice, put something together, have Danielle do it, to, indicate the law, and the leaves should be placed at the curb, not in the road.
Absolutely, yeah. We actually talked about putting something together.
Not on the road or the sidewalk.
Well,
They
now
don't put them on the sidewalk, yeah, you're right.
If your house has a sidewalk.
Right.
But now,
But you need to do that like.
sidewalks are 2
Yeah,
foot
yeah,
off
Every
the
day,
road,
because I drove around today and it's all over the street.
4-foot sidewalk, and if the leaves are 2 foot away from the sidewalk, now we're out of our 10-foot range. Are you gonna give us permission to go on people's properties and blow them off? Again, we have a 10-foot right-of-way, and the sidewalk's in our right-of-way. But if they put it behind the sidewalk and 2 foot off the sidewalk, we're infringing on a right-of-way issue. Am I gonna go on the property and blow people's properties off into the street
No,
with the sidewalk?
no,
So how are we gonna do that, make them bag
I
it?
don't know. I'm gonna pile it higher and
Little
now
at a
abandon.
What, in the little hill strip?
Yeah,
No, I'm just saying that there could be a,
I think we have to start by educating the people.
Are we still gonna
I think that's what we have to start doing, we're not gonna have a full turnaround this year. But if we just started, all right, hold on, guys. Until we start educating the people and training the people on how to, where to place their leaves, that's gonna make the difference. So we'll start with the small steps, trying to get a notice out indicating the safety issue of the leaves and where they should be placed. With the sidewalks and all of that, let's work through the first step.
Are we still giving out the bags for the leaves?
Yes. Good?
Last one I have for you. Anything happened regarding sidewalk repair? I know you guys had that demo done a while ago with it, Enacom, I think it was.
Right, yeah, so we've done a few,
we've done a couple, but a couple or two pitched that have to be removed and replaced. So we've taken sidewalks out and put rock dust, which packs very well and is the safest way to get through before we start ripping out trees and roots. And right now we're informing the safety of the downtown village, and we're moving towards other sections, weather permitting. Every time we try to get something done, it's 47 degrees. It's got to be 55 or above to pour concrete, and at least 2 good dry days. we're working through it.
And that material has the same temperature thresholds?
55 and above, 4,000 PSI. We can start putting antifreezes in them to try to, if it goes down to like 52, but then we gotta bring out the heat blankets. It's a lot more labor intense and cost factor.
We don't need the heat blankets on
Sidewalk
concrete.
blankets?
Yes.
They call them heat blankets. They're thermal black blankets with a barrier of air pockets that once you put on the ground, they're only maintained at 55 degrees or how hot the ground is for an overnight. So the concrete has a better time to cure. Did they say that okay, Mayor?
They OSHA certified.
I am.
No, with a blanket, OSHA certified.
I know, they're ANSI certified.
Good job, Joe, thank you.
3M.
Anything else? Okay.
Thanks, Joe.
See you tomorrow, Joe.
Good day, gentlemen. Ladies. You too, please.
I'll be quick here because we spoke a lot about grants already. We have an application in with Rockland County to do the sidewalks on Park Avenue, the CDBG project, the $100,000 grant project. I should know whether or not, well, it has to be approved by the county, and then that gets sent to HUD, and then HUD has to approve it. In my conversations off the record with the county, I'm telling you, we are okay for getting that grant. Okay, it just has to be approved by HUD. That could happen tomorrow, or that could happen 2 months from now.
Right.
Okay, but hopefully we'll find out soon. Also, we put in for $250,000 for the new garbage truck with Ellen Jaffe. I should know that also hopefully by the meeting of November 6th. So maybe I'll have some good news for us at that point in time. All right, I think that's it right now.
Perfect.
All right.
You did good work, Brad.
Okay.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
All right, good night. Mr. Magrino, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Good evening, everyone. Real quick, there's 3 local laws on for next week, none of which frankly are probably going to be voted on. First is regarding additional handicap spaces in the Central Business District. That one may be ready to be voted on, but there may be a couple of tweaks. The second is to establish passenger loading zones in the Central Business District. Again, Amy and I need to kind of get together and decide exactly how that's going to be worded, because the way it's worded now is really too confusing. And finally, restrictions on idling parked vehicles in the Central Business District. I had prepared changes. This is the one that I had prepared to change for is not here though.
Yeah.
So I'll have to, I'll send that to you again, but that should be the one that gets distributed. So we can start the hearings next week and then continue them until December and see what's what. That's all I had. Attorney stuff. Anybody has any questions?
I think that would be good just to get the feedback too.
Right, have people come in and see what they think. But I think we do need a little more of a working,
Oh, absolutely.
yeah, working models.
As long as we're, I don't know if this is for you, Rob, but as long as we're talking about parking, we had talked about the parking spots on Ramapo Ave across from the train station. I still see cars parking there. I don't think we have any new signage there either, so we...
No, we have anything, that's something we have to rescind on anything. You go in front of the,
Rainbow Building.
No, but not the...
yeah, no, we just gotta rescind it,
Rainbow
really.
Building?
I was found it, I said I was rescind it, I get my board, I think it's, because technically you're allowed to park there now.
We were gonna look at it if it was in the CB or if it would be
Yeah,
included in
exactly.
the public hearing.
That's one of the changes that
Right,
are
right.
still.
Oh, I'm ready, I just, it's gotta be rescinded, but we're fine.
Okay, so that is in here?
No, it's not in the draft
It's not.
yet. No.
But I know Rob stated last time that we were going to be putting it in for the public hearing coming up to rescind those parking
Right.
restrictions there. To get no parking
Correct, yeah,
from Park to the Hill,
absolutely.
right?
From Park?
It would be
West
Park, it would be West Park,
Yes,
West
but that is,
West Park to the, yeah,
so
correct.
Pat Malone, is that Pat Malone there?
Right. Mhm.
Right?
Both sides,
Yeah.
one side isn't.
Yeah, yeah.
The Chestnut, whatever it is.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay.
And if you want to...
Yeah, we have to do that. We have to include that.
27 Hillside, we're supposed to have a trial, we got adjourned, one of our witnesses was ill, but that'll be in early or mid-November.
What's that thing I saw about what is tampering?
Somebody put something in there.
right?
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so there's a number of items here. The remaining items relate to the proposed acquisition of real property located at 37 Washington Avenue, which is commonly known as the Avon Nail Enamel Building. First, item D is a resolution, and I would ask the board to consider passing this resolution at the end, after I go through all of the items here. That resolution would be authorizing a public hearing to be held November 6, 2019 at 7:20 p.m. to consider the Village of Suffern acquiring a parcel of real property located at 37 Washington Avenue. As I said, it's commonly known as the Avon Nail Enamel Building.
Let me just to speak to that point, 7:20, is there a, oh, we have the other public hearing at 7:05.
Yeah,
Correct.
it's already been.
Read ahead of it.
Okay, it's noticed, okay, all right. I'm
So that's why
sorry.
we picked that time. Okay. Next is for the, would be, and these resolutions would go on the agenda for the 6th after any such public hearing. So the next item is adopting a negative declaration in connection with the Village of Suffern proposed action to purchase that parcel of real estate and to issue bonds to finance the purchase. If you look at the proposed resolution and the backup to the proposed resolution, there's a short environmental assessment form. And what I would highlight to the board on the last page of that form, the reasoning for the negative declaration is in the last paragraph, and I'll just read it for everyone's convenience. The property is approximately 100% impervious surface. There are no flora or fauna located on the property. The purchase of real property is considered an unlisted action under the State Environmental Quality Review Act. The proposed action does not involve any alteration or physical change to the property. The proposed action will not generate any objectionable odors, noise, or light, or create any significant adverse environmental impact on energy. The village seeks to purchase the property to use in the future to serve the general public. Therefore, the proposed action will not have any significant adverse impacts upon the environment. Okay. The next item is authorizing the Village of Suffern to acquire the parcel of property, as we discussed, commonly known as the Avon Nail Enamel Building. That would be a separate resolution from the negative declaration. I'm on item F, is where I just pointed. Item G is authorizing the bond resolution for the purchase of the real property. And that has, the resolution has the typical language in terms of issuance of bonds. Okay. Next is authorizing a modification to the Avon Capital Corporation pilot agreement dated September 12, 2003. That's something that's been some discussion previously. I don't have a resolution. That resolution is in process from our office. And we'll have one certainly for you for Monday night. Okay?
Wednesday.
I'm sorry, Wednesday. Thank you. So I have a little more time for that. But we'll have it for you as soon as we can. The last item, item I, is authorizing Chazen Companies to perform a Phase 1 environmental site assessment of that property. And basically that's for you to do some environmental due diligence regarding the property. If you look at the proposal from Chazen Companies on page 1, I would just highlight the purpose. It appears towards the bottom of the page. The purpose of a Phase 1 ESA is to identify, recognize environmental conditions or significant data gaps on the property through review of historical site use, interviews with parties knowledgeable about the site, observations made during a site visit that focuses on developed areas of the property and the accessible periphery of the site, and review of federal and state databases. And so all of those resolutions, other than the one setting the public hearing, would be on the agenda for consideration by the board on, at that meeting on November 6th. And I would just ask the board tonight to consider passing that resolution authorizing, it's item D, authorizing a public hearing to be held on November 6th, 2019 at 7:20 p.m. to consider the village acquiring the parcel of property located at 37 Washington.
I have one question, I apologize, but the first thing we were discussing, negative declaration. So that term negative declaration, it refers to the fact that there's nothing negative specifically about this proceeding forward, is that correct?
There's nothing negative in terms of impact on the environment.
Right, so that, it's not negative like it's a bad idea negative, it's just, there's nothing negative, it's confusing. I'm trying to make sure I
Yeah, absolutely. It means that there's no negative impact on the environment related to the acquisition, the proposed acquisition of
Understood.
that property.
Thank you, I appreciate the clarification, and I'm sorry.
No, thank you for the question.
Didn't understand.
All right, so does the board have any further questions in regards to setting the public hearing? Any further discussion, concerns, questions that you may have? It is a big step that the village is taking. I believe it's a great opportunity for the village that is before us right now, probably once in a lifetime.
Do we need a motion for the resolution?
Well, I think that the discussion, you know.
When were you gonna be able to post the notice on the public hearing?
Is it posted today?
It's been placed in the paper for publication and will be posted based on the voting today.
Based on the voting plan,
It's prepared to be posted tonight.
So I just want to make sure that, you know, bringing forth the public and having public input, I think is a great idea. That was presented to, you know, that Moira and Frank had voiced concerns about, and so, you know, myself, but I think the public input would be a determining factor on how to proceed and gauge how they would like to proceed. But I mean, based on economic development, the needs of the village, the municipal needs, I see moving forward as a positive step in a great direction for the village of Suffern. And that's what I'm looking for, feedback from the board once again, and from the public on Wednesday night. Does anybody have anything to add?
No, we spent a lot of time on this one, so.
Okay. Okay, so I make a motion that we set the public hearing to be held on November 6th at 7:20 to consider the village of Suffern acquiring a parcel of real property located at 37 Washington Avenue. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by trustee Hagen, seconded by
Me.
trustee Hertzman. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. So the notice will be published tomorrow, and we'll have the public hearing on Wednesday, November 6th, 7:20. Trustees, any further? Anyone?
Just a couple of follow-ups. I already asked the one parking question, but any feedback or update from the MTA on that meeting you were part of downtown?
We're setting up an additional meeting with the MTA. What is the title? Ellen?
Yeah.
Ellen,
Director of Community Relations.
Director of Community Relations for the MTA. We're setting up another follow-up meeting with her.
Tomorrow. We're meeting with her.
It is tomorrow.
It is tomorrow.
So we're still pursuing that possible acquisition by the MTA of the Suffern train station.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if the chief or anybody's had any more proposals on the pedestrian traffic that we've talked about a few times around the station and with Sheldon and all that stuff.
No.
No, we talked about additional. There was a couple, yeah, I think it was the last workshop we talked about.
Yeah, Sheldon, we were going to Sheldon. I don't have anything else in addition, honestly, it's not like it. Definitely keep checking, I know I was more focused on the parking over there by Chestnut, to get rid of, we haven't put any rid of that.
You know what, now's a good time to really explore it, because we just repaved Chestnut too.
No, it is.
Charles, do you think we could take a look at that once again, maybe with the chief? I don't know, I know there were some safety concerns with a pedestrian crossing at Chestnut, but I mean, if we're gonna stripe the street there, and there's a possibility to stripe a crosswalk, but I'm not sure if it can.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, see you Wednesday?
Yeah.
The key was, I know I brought up the crosswalk, the issue is you have to have enough visibility. The biggest concern, no matter, I think what we brought up, alluded to a little bit last month, the visibility is pretty poor there, just because it's a short stretch. Come on up under the bridge, you need to have enough visibility to see a sign, to see a crosswalk, so people can act upon it. You don't want to give people false sense of security walking across, and the person coming up the road not seeing them. That's the only issue. The crosswalk should also have like a curb cut or a curb array. Like no curb when you're walking across. You're not really supposed to have one. Just like if you look at the one you just put on Washington and just walking. You walk over to the curb cut there, you walk up into. I think that's required according to Charlie. That's a positive.
So that would probably mean getting rid of a parking spot just to make that.
Oh, more
But
than.
you'd have to,
one.
no, and I think the biggest concern would be, you'd have to put it far enough up Lafayette, up towards the barber shop. You have to, you get room, but you definitely lose parking. And it's funny, Mark, I came up the other day, remember I talked maybe extending that fence or that rail. There's that, if you go up the ramp, you have that railing to the left. But if you pull that out, that's probably going to be a hazard for anybody coming up on the ramp. It's too tight. I was trying to think maybe some along those lines, but I just, it's very confusing because it's such a short distance, the visibility is not good. That poses the safety issue, but that poses the safety issue. That's my biggest concern, I think, about that. Is this something you want? Listen, I can suggest that someone should bring an engineer. I just feel more comfortable with someone that can look at the area, the visibility. I know from common sense you need the distance. I don't know, I'm not a traffic engineer, about how much you need.
You would need a traffic engineer really to do stuff right
Yeah,
there.
that's a serious one, because if we don't, Paul, if they come up under that and they're coming, and even if they're not going fast, speed limit's 25, they're coming up, and it's dark and someone's walking across, you're not gonna see them, it's just,
Yeah, but even if they were
What's
crossing in that, in one place
right,
versus just
they're just starting now.
just meandering any old way underneath that underpass over to the other side, at least you would control the flow.
Sure.
And you know, anybody, you know, over time that's constantly going through there is gonna get accustomed to.
So the railing now, or we're off the crosswalk, going to the railing on the sidewalk? Or both?
No, I'm not, I'm saying if there's a challenge in putting a crosswalk there, at least some kind of a barrier on the sidewalk that prevents people from just, you know, traipsing across underneath the tracks, or just beyond the tracks and just, you know,
Charles,
just going in droves just across the street.
Right, that's, yeah.
In an unorganized fashion.
He's absolutely right.
No, one of those rails, Charles, remember we spoke about the rail, putting the railing in along the sidewalk, under the underpass.
Yeah.
So determining from wherever, from Ramapo Avenue up towards Lafayette on that side.
You'd have to do that on the eastbound side, this side, because the other side where the shelter is, you have the driveway, you can't block the.
Right, you can't do it on that
If you're
side.
gonna do it, I agree with you, it'd have to be on the eastern side of, up where the park.
But he's saying
That may not
in
be-
conjunction with a crosswalk would be ideal.
Right.
That would be
Makes
better,
sense.
yeah, but you're saying the visibility is difficult.
But the visibility-
That's the only concern I have.
But at least you can control the pedestrian traffic going.
Correct. Charles, can we really take a look at that? I know we spoke about it.
25, so worth it, right?
Could we mandate?
Well, that's the other issue too.
15 mile per hour.
We can only drop it down by law to 25 on a local road. State road, we can't control, that's a village road. We don't be able to do 15 with a school zone. Obviously, that wouldn't, unfortunately, it wouldn't fall into that statute, I don't believe. We've got the state proposed, but we can't go over 25 on a village road. I've been through this with the state DOT. Unfortunately, even, not just the state DOT, the state itself, on local roads, not the DOT control, it's 25 the lowest we can drop local roads.
Yeah, and
Which is unfortunate, because I agree with you. That'd be a 15 right there. 15 is Sacred Heart, because in Washington, when school is, and that's 15.
Did you get a waiver for a non-school zone?
I was told we couldn't, listen, we could check anything. We haven't checked that in a while. No, it's a good question. Ralph, you made a note of that one. I thought it was 25, that's the lowest they would let us. We've been through this a few times. I don't think give away, Steve asked a good question.
I was just thinking maybe it's 25 to just do whatever you want, you know, like this could be 25, this could be 30, whatever.
Yeah.
But maybe you could make a petition to get a lower number.
You know, that would probably
But
be the
this is
spot.
our road, this is a village on.
Oh, yeah, Round Port Chester, the village, oh, correct. Both of those, yeah.
The other thing we said, what would be the benefit of putting the barrier along that sidewalk is all the cars stopping underneath the tracks, picking up
Totally.
people coming down. If people can't get over that barrier,
Doors.
they're not gonna be able to put
Yeah.
there's no reason to stop there, the people
Yeah.
can't.
They'll stop and they'll get in on the other side. They still go, I mean, we'll prevent a lot, absolutely. So yeah, let's do that.
That would, honestly, that's great, that would probably be the best solution,
Right.
because obviously the other side of Sheldon is, there's a lot of openings you can't park it, because people are coming out of the front door. I think it's great.
All right, well,
Yeah, so we'll have to figure it out. Okay. NJT and DOT. Yeah, we're not sure. I think that sidewalk is all about.
It is ours,
Yeah.
but I don't know.
that's all I had.
No. Steve? Good. Frank?
Good.
Moira?
Good.
Anybody else? Good? All right. Motion to close the workshop, 9:45. Motion by Steve Alpert, second. Frank Hagen, all in favor? Aye. Thank you, everyone. I just want to, oh, you know what? I'm sorry. Please stand for a minute. Just please stand for a minute and let's really close the meeting in honor of Virginia Menschner and the passing of her life from 1 year ago on Friday.
Oh.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Then, next.